الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. We continue with the sisters class, reflections on important matters in light of the Qur'an and Sunnah. In this particular portion, we are dealing with 10 traits of good character. 10 traits of good character. We have come to the next trait from these 10 traits of good character, and it is, in fact, the second trait. And that is, as the mu'allif, the musannif, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions, he says, الأدب الثاني من الآداب العشرة وهو يتعلق أدب الاستئذان. He said that the second trait from the 10 traits, the second characteristic, the second act of good manners, the second aspect of good manners, from the 10 aspects of good manners, then verily it is linked to asking permission. It is linked to seeking and asking permission. Naam. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, what he intends by this and what he means by this is asking permission when one is going to enter into the home or the place of residence or an office or so on and so forth, as we'll come to see inshaAllah Ta'ala. Asking permission to enter. Naam, asking permission to enter. So the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentions, he says, فيه أربع مسائل, that there are 4 affairs that are linked here. There are 4 issues that have to be discussed when speaking about the issue of asking for permission to enter. He says, والمسألة الأولى, the first of these masail, the first of these 4 affairs, these 4 issues, في قوله, is inside of the statement of the author where he mentions إذا أردت الدخول, that when you want to enter upon يعني على أحد, when you want to enter upon someone, فاستأذن, then you have to ask permission. You have to ask for permission. نعم. He says المبين محل الاستئذان, then we have to explain what is the circumstance or what is the place where you will have to ask for permission. What are those situations that require that you ask for permission, and where is that time, or which is that time frame that you are required to ask for permission? And he mentions, he says, وَهُوَ عِنْدَ إِرَادَةِ الدُّخُولِ, and this is when you want to enter. This is when you want to enter, when you want to go into or enter upon someone, then you will have to ask for their permission. فَمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يَدْخُلَ قَدَّمَ إِسْتِئْذَانَهُ, whoever wants to enter, then he has to begin that by seeking permission. In other words, the permission is sought before he enters. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَلَمْ يُؤَخِّرُهُ حَتَّى يَدْخُلَ, he doesn't leave it or delay it until he enters, meaning he doesn't walk into the room first and then ask for permission to enter. He doesn't enter into the house first and then ask for permission to enter, but rather they ask for permission to enter prior to entering, prior to entry. نعم. فمحل الأدب قبل الدخول لا بعد. So the place of asking for entrance, the place where we will display and show this good mannerism, then it is before we enter. Then this will be before we enter. Well, istidhan, And asking for permission, هو طلب الإذن, then you're asking for someone's permission. You're seeking their permission by way in which to enter upon them. نعم. والدخول على شيء, and what it means to enter upon something, or to enter upon, into something, then this will be entering into something that is customarily or ordinarily locked, or something that is customarily or ordinarily closed, so on and so forth. As the Shaykh is going to mention, he says, وَالْأَمْرُ بِالْإِسْتِئْذَانِ يَكُونُ فِيمَا هُوَ مَحْجُوبٌ عَادَةً, then it is as relates to that which is ordinarily closed, that which is ordinarily closed off, sectioned off, that which is ordinarily closed. Naam. For example, kadar, like a home, a person's home, their apartment, their house, their flat. This is something that customarily it is closed. It is not open just for the public to enter as they wish, when they wish, to the like, but rather it is closed. Wal maktab, and likewise an office. An office, naam, it is customarily closed. It is not open just for public entry, for someone to enter when they choose to, how they choose to the like, but rather is something that is customarily closed. Customarily, there is a expectation of privacy as relates to a person's home and as relates to a person's office. وَنَحْوِهِمَا, and that which is similar to the two. نعم. وَلَا مَا هُوَ مَفْتُوحٌ عَادَةً, and it is not, you don't have to ask for permission to enter in those things that are customarily opened. Those things that are customarily open to the public, they are customarily opened, then you don't have to ask for permission to enter. For example, كالدكان, like a store. نعم. كالدكان سوق, like a store inside of the marketplace. Be it the grocery store, be it a store selling a commodity, whatever the case is. These stores are customarily open to the public to enter as they wish. So prior to entering into the likes of these establishments, then it is not customary, nor is it required that you ask for permission, because here the expectation of privacy is less. So meaning that here it is understood that people will enter at their leisure without needing to ask, due to the nature of the business and the like. Naam. And that which is similar to it. So if it is a situation where a thing is customarily closed, then prior to entry, we have to ask for permission. An example of this will be a person's home. If we're at a person's home, then it is customary that this place is closed. The doors are locked. The door is closed. It is not for anyone just to walk in at their leisure, but rather they have to ask for permission. Likewise, a person's office, be it in a place of business and the like, then we have to ask for their permission before entry into their office, And this is an extremely important piece of mannerism. This is an extremely important trait from the traits of good character and from the traits of good behavior. This is from an extremely beneficial trait that we have to make sure that we ourselves are upon, and that we are also educating our children as relates to it, because good manners is of extreme importance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his noble book, he says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَدْخُلُوا بُيُوتًا غَيْرَ بُيُوتِكُمْ. O you who believe, do not enter into homes that are not your homes. Don't enter into houses that are not your houses. حَتَّى تَسْتَأْنِسُوا وَتُسَلِّمُوا عَلَى أَهْلِهَا, until you ask for permission to enter. Once you have been granted permission to enter, then give salams to the occupants of the home. Once you enter, then you give salams to occupants of the home. Naam, this is from the mannerisms of the Deen of Islam. Before you enter into a person's home, you ask for permission. As you are entering into their home, or prior to entering into their home, you say Bismillah. You enter into the home, and then you give salam to the occupants of the home. So you say into the occupants of the home, meaning in the case where they are Muslims, Assalamu alaikum. Naam, you greet everyone with the salams to everyone inside of the home. And that they are not Muslims, then you greet the people in the home with whatever greeting is customary amongst said people or those particular people. Now, that makes sense? Like, so the first of the affair is, when do we ask for this permission? And as explained, we ask for this permission when we enter, or excuse me, prior to entering into the home. So before entry, we ask for permission to enter. Now, the second affair that is linked to this affair is, where do we stand? Where do we stand? Now, the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, واقفا عن يمين الباب أو يساره. He said, standing at the right of the door, to the right of the door, or to the left of the door, right? So where do we stand? Okay, we have come to the door, let's say in this case to a person's house, right? We have come to their house. We've knocked on the door, or we have rang the buzzer. Now, where do we stand? Do we stand dead center in the middle of the doorway? The Shaykh, he mentions, he says no, but we stand either to the right or to the left. We stand to its right or we stand to its left. Now, this is where we are to stand. And there is a wisdom in this, right? There's a wisdom in this, as the Shaykh is going to explain. He says, إذا أراد الداخل الاستئذان إذا أراد الداخل الاستئذان وقف عن يمين الباب أو يساره. That if the person who's seeking entry wants to enter, then they have to ask for permission. And while they're in the process of asking for permission or waiting for the answer, right, then they are to stand to the left or the right of the door, to the right of the door or to the left of the door. نعم. ولم يقف مواجهة, and they do not stand directly in front of the door, facing the door. نعم. Facing the door, right in the center of the door, meaning that they do not stand in such a manner that if the door were to begin to be opened, a person can look straight inside of a person's house. Naam. So you don't stand in such a manner, and this is why I said either to the right or to the left, depending upon where the hinge is on the door. But you stand in a place where if the door were to open, you're not looking and peering directly into a person's house. Naam. And this is because when the doors are closed, then you have that expectation of privacy. You have that expectation of privacy. So you want to respect a person's privacy, even when seeking entry into a person's home. Now, even when seeking entry into a person's office. And even if they are granting you that entry and are opening the door for you to enter, you still want to have a respect for their privacy. Now, the Shaykh goes on and he says, لأن المقصود الاستئذان يعني حفظ العورات بعدم الاطلاع عليها, because the whole purpose of asking for permission is to preserve people's privacy and not to infringe upon it. That's the whole purpose. So that what? So that you do not barge in upon people and see what you are not supposed to see. So you do not barge in upon people and you find them in situations that you're not supposed to see them in. You want to maintain and to respect their privacy. So therefore, even at this time, then you will stand either to the right or to the left, depending upon where the hinges are, depending upon if the door were to crack open, what will be the first thing exposed, so that what? So that you don't mistakenly see something that you weren't supposed to see. For example, the women of the house who may be walking by at that particular time, or so on and so forth, who are uncovered because they're home. You're not supposed to see them. You're not supposed to see them. Now, so as a man, you're not supposed to see them. So therefore, you stand in such a way where you won't get this unfortunate glance. Now, where you won't get this unfortunate glance. Now, وتحققه يكون بمباعدة الباب. And the way in which that you accomplish this, then this will be by standing away from the door. Standing away from the door, so that when the door opens, you're not immediately within eyeshot of what is inside of the house. So that therefore nothing that should be hidden will be thus exposed to you. You will not see the awrah of anyone who you are not supposed to look upon and see their awrah, so on and so forth. Now, this too is of extreme importance, and this is a very important trait and characteristic that we have to implore, and this is from good manners. And unfortunately, these manners They maybe not normal as they used to be in times of past. These manners now, they may be odd in certain places in certain circumstances, but it is incumbent that we remind people of the good manners by showing them good manners. That we remind people of good manners by showing them good manners, because it is quite possible that if a person were to seek entry into a person's home, and then they were to stand away from the opening of the door, so as such that the person may have to open a little more and look out to see them standing on the opposite side of where the opening is, they may ask, why are you standing over there? Why are you standing over there? And this will be a good opportunity for us to explain to them that Islam, we are taught as Muslims to have respect for people's privacy and not to infringe upon their privacy. So for this reason, we stand at a place so that when the door begins to open, we are not able to see directly inside of the house, but we stand at a place that where whoever is opening the door will have ample time to, one, see us, and ample time to open up the foot of the door, knowing that the people of the house are comfortable with the door being open because they know about it, and so on and so forth. They are covered. They are, in different rooms, so on and so forth. Now, maintaining and respecting their privacy. Now, maintaining and respecting their privacy. These manners are extremely important. Muslims, we are called to have the most outstanding and the most excellent of manners at all times. At all times, in times of ease, in times of difficulty, at all times, we are supposed to have the most outstanding manners. Now, that makes sense? The third issue is that فَإِنْ أَذِنَ لَكَ دُخَلْتَ. If you are given permission to enter, then you walk in. So now this issue is, what constitutes permission? What constitutes permission to walk into a person's house or to their office, and the like? The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَلَفْظُ, and the articulation, the words that may be used to indicate to you that it is okay for you to enter may be something like udkhul, enter, or tafaddal, come on, come on in, right? Enter or come on in, proceed, and the like. That these words may be used. And the Shaykh, he says, وَمَا فِي مَعْنَاهِمَا, and that which is inside of their meaning. So whatever bears their meaning, right, from those articulations that are clear, then these are the articulations that we are looking out to hear to see whether or not we have been granted and allotted permission and to enter into a person's home or to a person's office, so on and so forth. So it is not that we knock at the door, that we ring the doorbell, right? And then when we hear some moving around, we say, okay, they're home, they know I'm here. Then we walk in, and then, no, but you wait. You wait until they tell you, okay, it's okay to come in, or, come on in, proceed, welcome, so on and so forth. Whatever statement from the statements by way in which we know 100% that they are granting us permission and entry into their residence. Now, this is of extreme importance. Out of what? All in the manner of preserving the privacy. So once they have given us permission to enter by saying come in, by saying udkhul, enter, by saying tafaddal, come on in, by saying the likes of come, and the like, then this is a sign for us, okay, now we can enter. Now we can enter into the residence. Or if a person says to us ta'al, there are many different articulations a person can say. You could say ta'al, and the like. However the case is, whatever is known amongst the culture as those statements and those phrases by way in which a person utilizes them to grant entry into a private setting, be it a home, an office, or its like, then we wait to hear these specific phrases before we enter. And if we don't hear these phrases, right, because no one comes to the door, no one greets us, then we turn around and we walk away. Then we turn around and we walk away. So now there comes the issue. If no one greets us, if no one answers the door, when do we walk away? Do we ring the doorbell once or ring the buzzer once? Do we knock one time and then if we don't hear anything, we go away? Or do we knock 10 times? If we don't hear anything, do we go away? 20 times. If we don't hear anything, we go away, so on and so forth. Damn, this is very important. And it shows you, Yani, the precision of the legislation of the Deen of al-Islam. Is that even when it comes down to the adab of knocking at a door, seeking entry into a person's home, we have guidance from the book and the Sunnah. We have guidance from the revelation. Walillahi alhamd. Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islami wa Sunnah. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. Naam. Ala kulli hal. How many times do we knock? How long are we to wait? There comes a hadith. It comes inside of Sahih al-Bukhari, and it's from the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, قال كنت في مجلس من مجالس الأنصار. He said, I was in a majlis, I was in a sitting from the sittings of the Ansar. So I was sitting with the Ansar. Naam, he was sitting with the Ansar. إذ جاء أبو موسى. When Abu Musa came, نعم, رضي الله تعالى عنه, كأنه مذعور. نعم, Abu Musa, he came in, and he came and it was apparent on him signs of fear, right? He had signs of fear on him. So the Ansar, they were sitting, and Abu Sa'id, he was sitting, as we would say, he was enjoying the company of his brothers, now from the Ansar. So he was sitting with the brothers from the Ansar. And then Abu Musa, he came upon the gathering, and he had signs of fear upon him. He was shaken, he was scared, right? فقال, and he said, استأذنت على عمر ثلاثا. He said, I sought permission to enter into Umar's house. He's talking about Umar ibn Khattab, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, I sought permission to enter into Umar's house 3 times. Naam, 3 times. And seeking permission, naam, it can be by knocking, right? If there's a buzzer, by the buzzer, whatever the case is, right? This is what is meant by seeking permission. It doesn't necessarily mean that you audibly ask, yani, can I come in? Can I come in? Can I come in? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But it can be by knocking upon the door. It can mean by ringing the buzzer, so on and so forth. This is how permission is sought. So it's not necessarily a statement, although it could be, but it's not necessarily a statement, right? In any event, he said, I sought permission to enter to Umar's house, 3 times. فَلَمْ يُؤْذَنِي. But he didn't allow me, right? فَلَمْ يُؤْذَنْ لِي. He did not allow me. Meaning that what? He didn't answer. He didn't answer. It didn't mean that he told him, no, go away. Because as the author, he mentions that if you're told to go back, then go back. And meaning if the person answers the door and says, it's not a good time, come back later, right? They send you away with whatever statement of sending someone away that is well known, be it rude or be it pleasant, right? Whether they tell you it's not a good time, could you come back later? Or they come to the door and say, let me get out of here, right? Whatever the case is, you didn't get permission. So if you don't get permission, then you leave. That's bila shakku bila raib. There's no argument about that. So what is meant here, he didn't grant me permission. It means that he didn't answer. He didn't answer, right? He knocked and he didn't answer the door, right? So he left. He said he didn't give me permission for raja'tu. He said, so I left. I didn't, he didn't answer the door, so I left. فقال ما منعك. And but he came to the door later, right? So after he saw it 3 times, he knocked 3 times, he left. So after he left, then Umar came to the door. Now once Umar came to the door, and he asked, who was at the door? And they told him it was Abu Musa. Now, so he had them get Abu Musa, or he went to Abu Musa and he spoke to him, and he said, why'd you leave? Why'd you leave? You knocked and you left. What happened? Why you left? What prevented you from staying there? قلت, so Abu Musa, he said, استأذنت ثلاثا. He said, because I knocked 3 times. فلم يؤذن لي فرجعت. And you didn't answer, so I left. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, إذا استأذن أحدكم ثلاثا فلم يؤذن له فليرجع. He said that if one of you asks for permission 3 times, seeks permission 3 times to enter to a person's home, if they don't grant you permission, meaning they don't answer within those 3 knocks or what have you, then leave. Then leave. This is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naam. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, فَقَالَ وَاللَّهِ, he said unto him, by Allah, لَتُقِيمَنَّ عَلَيْهِ بِبَيِّنَةٍ. He said, then by Allah, Abu Musa, you better bring me some proof of this hadith. You better bring me some proof this is a hadith. Naam. So the reason, the ulama, they mention, the reason that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he made Abu Musa go through this, it was a lesson. It wasn't that he didn't believe Abu Musa. He believed Abu Musa. If Abu Musa said that the Prophet ﷺ said such and such, then it was known the Prophet ﷺ said such and such. Because the Sahaba, all of them are trustworthy. All of them are truthful. All of them are trustworthy. So it wasn't that Umar didn't believe him. Is that Umar wanted to show the people the severity of quoting on the Prophet ﷺ, to show them that this affair is tremendously important, that when you quote on the Prophet ﷺ, it has to be correct, it has to be accurate, and not to be lackadaisical as it comes to relating and accepting hadith. Teaching teaching future generations of the Muslims, teaching the future generation of the Muslims that you have to take the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam serious, and you have to make sure that this is in fact a statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to be very careful from narrating upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that which he did not say, or accepting narrations on the Prophet ﷺ of that which should not be attributed to him, because he sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say them. So this is why he made him go through this extra step. Not that he didn't believe him, but he wanted to show the Muslims the importance of verifying a hadith, the importance of verifying that yes, this is in fact and indeed truly what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he said. Which is a extremely important lesson for each and every one of us, that we take this affair extremely serious, and that we narrate that which we know was from the statements of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if we do not know that this hadith is authentic, I'm talking about for us, then we don't narrate it. We don't narrate it, period. We don't attribute it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't share it, we don't like it, we don't retweet it, so on and so forth, unless we know, yes, this is an authentic hadith. Then we share it. Ala kulli hal. He told him, he said, by Allah, we will ask Abu Musa to bring witnesses for it. You're going to have to bring some witnesses, right? You're going to have to prove, right? Why? Showing the importance of verifying hadith. So therefore, Abu Musa, he went to the Ansar, and he was scared, he was shaken up, because we know Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was no joke, right? He took the very serious. All the Sahaba took the deen serious, but Umar was Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So Abu Musa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he went to the Ansar and he said, Aminkum ahadun sami'ahu min al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, is there anyone from you who have also heard this statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? فقال Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, Wallahi la yaqumu ma'aka illa asgharul qawm. He said, by Allah, there's no one that's going to stand with you except the youngest of the people. right? Right? So he told him that basically, we're going to send somebody with you to help you out. But this affair is so well known that really we're not going to waste our time and being witness for you. We're going to send one of the small lads with you, you know, to be a witness, right? Because it was well known amongst that majlis, that circle, those sahaba that were there, was well known to them. However, this was a narration. The ulama, they say, that perhaps had not reached Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So this was a narration that he was unaware of, right? But this, because he was unaware of it, didn't mean others didn't know about it. So there were others from the Sahaba who they knew about it. Naam. And like this, you'll find in many situations like this with the Sahaba, they would teach each other. They would inform each other of statements of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that perhaps they were around when the Prophet ﷺ said it, and the other Sahabi, he wasn't there. He wasn't there that time, so he didn't hear it, right? He didn't hear it, so they will tell him later. Ala kulli hal. So, Ubay ibn Ka'b, he said to him, Ubay ibn Ka'b, he said, then we're going to send the smallest from amongst us, and he'll go with you. فقلت أصغر القوم. So Abu Sa'id, he said at that time, I was the youngest of them. Now I'm the narrator of the hadith, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, I was the youngest of the people in the majlis at that time. I was the youngest one from them. He said, so I went with Abu Musa. He said, so I went with Abu Musa. فقمت معه. So I went with him, and فأخبرت عمر أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ذلك. He said, so I went with him and I informed Umar that yes, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, this is what he said. This is what he said. So this is where we know how many times do we knock? How many times do we ring the buzzer? How many times is it? It is 3 times. That we ring the buzzer or knock upon the door 3 times. And then if no one comes to the door, within that duration of time, then we go back. Then we go back and we leave. Okay? Now, some of the ulama, they have mentioned, they said, okay, if I knock one time, how long should I wait before I knock again? If I knock once or ring the buzzer once, how long should I wait before I ring it again? Right? And there is, it is what is customary, generally, what is customary. But some of the ulama, they have offered advice as relates to this, right? Because perhaps you're going to the home of a man who you know is righteous, right? A man who you know is righteous. So it is quite possible that when you reach the home, the man or the occupants of the home are praying their Sunnah prayers. They're praying Sunnah prayers. They're praying, right? And the average duration of such is what? Is 2 raka'at. It's 2 raka'atan. So the ulama, they said, so you should wait approximately the time it will take to make 2 units of prayer between each knock. So that if a person was praying, you give them time to finish the prayer and then come to see who is at the door. Right? And this is just advice that some of the scholars they have mentioned. In any event, you want to give some time between the knocks. You don't want to come, or between ringing the bell. You don't want to come and just ring it a million times, and that's 1. 2. No. You want to give it some time. And you don't want to cause any disturbance. You don't want to disturb anyone. And which is also from the habits and the traits and characteristics of the Muslims, is that we do not cause disturbances. Muslims, we do not cause disturbances, nor are we to be the cause of disturbing someone. Now, and frightening them. Now, you shouldn't ring the doorbell in such a way that it will scare the people inside the house. You shouldn't ring the buzzer in such a way that it will scare the people inside the house. You shouldn't knock upon the door in such a way that will startle and frighten those who are in the house. everything we do, it has to be, yani, taking other people's, feelings and other people's situations into consideration, right? So that we don't cause any unnecessary harm. We don't we don't startle anyone. We don't cause any disturbances to anyone. So even the manner that we knock on the door has to be in a manner that is good, meaning it's not so light that can't nobody hear it, and you're not banging on the door like you're there to serve a warrant and you're scaring everyone inside the house. No. But keep this in mind. Ala kulli hal. This is what the ulama, they mention as relates to how long it should be between the knock, or how long between each ringing of the buzzer, and that which is customary, yani, amongst the people. So you don't want to make it extremely long, and you don't want to make it extremely short. So that which is there in the middle. And the fourth and the final issue as relates to this, and this is the issue, yani, إذا قيل لك ارجع فارجع. If they said to you, go away, then go away. If they said to you, go away, go away. This is also what? From the adab of the Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says inside of His noble book, وَإِن قِيلَ لَكُمْ رُجِعُوا فَرُجِعُوا. If it is said to you, go back, then go back. If it said to you, if you're denied entry, إِذَا قِيلَ لَكُمْ رُجِعُوا فَرُجِعُوا. If it said to you, go back, not now, come back later. Or if it said to you, go away, get out of here, no, you're not getting in, then leave. Now, this is from the characteristics of the Muslims, is that we don't force ourselves upon anyone. If you come to a person's home and you seek permission to enter and they deny you that permission, then go away. Don't stand there and argue. Don't stand there and say this or that. Don't get mad and throw rocks at the door. Don't break the windows. Just leave. They said, no, you can't come in. Then you can't come in. Go away. It's not your home. It's not your home. You understand? And you have to have a respect for the people of the home. You have to have a respect for those who have authority inside of that house. That they tell you, no, you can't get in, then you can't get in. Then you leave. And when you look at this, there's so many other aspects that this enters into. Whereas Muslims, we do not force ourselves upon people. We do not force our will upon others when we are in situations where we don't have the authority. See, we're not talking that if you have the authority. If you have the authority, that's different. Then you have tools at your disposal that you will be lacking when you are lacking of authority. You see, when you're in authority, then that's a different situation. You can do things in authority and from a position of strength that you can't do when you don't have the authority, or from a position of weakness. And it's important that Muslims are wise and they understand the likes of this, and they always take others' feelings and situations into consideration. In any event, when one looks at these basic manners, right, they will see that they will translate into so many other things, that they will, aspects of them will be expressed in so many other things, that all of which no one would ever argue, except that they will say that this is from good manners, these are from good traits, this is a well-behaved individual. Now, that if you're told, no, you cannot come in, then you don't go in. You don't try to fight, you don't try to argue, you don't try to stand there knocking, you don't stand there obstinately and say, well, I'm just going to stand here. No, if you're denied entry, then go away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and if you are told to leave, leave. If you are told to leave, leave. Now that's whether you leave, the Shaykh, he mentions, whether you leave ma'a tibi nafs, whether you leave and you feel okay with it, no problem, or whether you leave and you feel a way about it. Now, even if you feel a way about it, still leave. It's not your situation to press the issue. It's not your prerogative, right? It's not, you don't have the right, as they say, to press the issue. And now again, we're talking about someone's personal space. We're not talking about a public area, but we're talking about someone's personal space, where someone would bona fidely have the right to tell you, you can't come in, get out of here. No, come back later, or don't come back at all. They will have that right to tell you that. And then you have to respect that, and you have to leave. Now, you have to respect that, and you have to leave. Ala kulli hal, the Shaykh he mentions, he says that if you are told to go away, then you go away. Why? Implementing the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And implementing the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if they tell you to leave, then you leave. Then if they tell you to leave, then you leave in obedience unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these things are, again, of extreme importance. These are extremely important manners that we have to employ. These are very important manners. So again, before entering into someone's private space, you have to ask for permission. If a door is closed, then that means you knock before entry. If a door is closed, if a door is closed in such a way in which it is closed and is understood by that the door was closed for privacy, then before entry, you have to knock. Before entry, you have to knock. So as to allot to whoever's behind that closed door the privacy that they sought by closing the door, and to open the door when the situation is open and suitable for the door to be opened. And we ask for permission before entry. Before we go in, we ask for permission. And we wait to hear a clear sign that has given us allowance to enter, the likes of come on in, the likes of ta'al, tafaddal, so on and so forth. Now we wait to hear these clear signs. Come in, the door is open, come on, so on and so forth. Then we wait to hear the likes of these expressions, bithnillahi ta'ala. And if we knock 3 times and the person does not answer, then we go away. And if we are told to go away, then we go away. And then the Shaykh, hafidhullah ta'ala, he moves on to the next aspect of good character. But inshallah ta'ala, we will save that until the next class. And we encourage all of the Muslims, strive to have good character. Strive to be well behaved and well mannered at all times. Strive to be well behaved and well mannered. Never let it be said about you as a Muslim that that man or that woman has the worst of manners, or the most nasty and rudest and worst of the people when it comes to manner-wise and the like, but rather be an example of good manners. Be an example of good manners and teach people what it is to have good manners by showing them. Now, in addition to, if given the opportunity, telling them. فنكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.